Ewan McCaskill. I'm a reporter in the Guardian newspaper. You said that the Saudi Air Force is professional and they use precise weapons. We've been tracking this from the start, and according to our analysis, and it's fairly conservative, about a third of the targets hit are civilian. The sort of schools, hospitals, marketplaces, economic infrastructure. So, I mean, it's hard to sort of square, more than a third civilian targets with sort of being professional and precise. I mean, this looks like a sort of clear breach of international humanitarian law. Although Jane said one question, I'd just also like to know about the role of the US and British advisors in the command centre and how much advice they're giving on targeting.
Yes. Thank you. As you know, these are very hot issues in the UK just now.
Yes, no, I know. With regards to the issue of schools and hospitals and so forth, I think a lot of it is vastly exaggerated. The Houthi Salih have turned schools and hospitals and mosques into command and control centers. They have turned them into weapons depots, and in a way that they're no longer civilian targets, they're military targets. They may have been a school a year ago, but they were not a school when they were bombed. When you have a building that used to be a school that has become a weapons depot, it's no longer a school, it's a weapons depot. There is a fault with how information is gathered in Yemen, which is not accurate. People say this was a school. Well, maybe it was a school 2 years ago, but it wasn't a school when it was bombed. And then they say the coalition hit a school. Not true. People accused us, the coalition, of bombing a wedding party in which 120 people died. We had no planes the day of the wedding, the day before the wedding, or the day after the wedding. But I don't see anyone retracting the charge. We were accused of bombing the old city of Sana'a, common heritage of mankind, when we had no flyers anywhere near the old city. I don't see anyone coming and saying, sorry, we charged you incorrectly. We're accused of dropping cluster bombs, British-made cluster bombs, 755B. Amnesty reports, and for months the media talks about how we used cluster bombs in Yemen. Well, guess what? The cluster bombs were bought in 1985. By 2005, they were obsolete. Great Britain could not extend the shelf life of the cluster bombs because the US signed conventions. And our airplanes, the Tornado airplanes we bought from Britain, the electronic warfare systems, when they were upgraded to accommodate new munitions, the ability to accommodate cluster bombs was removed because Britain signed a treaty to that effect. So if you have a bomb that's a dud, and you have a platform, the airplane, that can't use the bomb, how can we have dropped it? Where's the logic? Okay, there's a bomb in Yemen that didn't explode, so we're investigating to see how it got there. But people jump to conclusions when it comes to Saudi Arabia and the coalition. And then things get exaggerated and gets repeated, and it becomes a fact. And nobody takes a step back and says, wait a minute. Let's be reasonable. Let's have an informed discussion. What interest do we have in killing children in Yemen? Yemen is our neighbor. We have been by far the largest supporter of Yemen for the past 40 years. By far. We have 4 million Yemenis living in Saudi Arabia. Why do we want to antagonize them? I don't see criticism about child soldiers by the Houthis. I don't see criticism about indiscriminate bombing by the Houthis. I don't see criticism about the Houthis violating international resolutions and taking over a country. I don't see criticism of the Houthis lobbing ballistic missiles at Saudi Arabia. But I see criticism of Saudi Arabia in defending a legitimate government based on international law and based on United Nations resolutions. So yes, is there collateral damage in war? In every war there is collateral damage. The objective is to try to minimize it. The objective is to try to be as careful as possible. And when an incident happens and you investigate and you realize maybe the intelligence was wrong, okay, we need a better system of vetting it. If you realize maybe the procedures were inadequate, you put in place procedures to ensure that it doesn't happen. This is what your military does. This is what the American military does. This is what the Saudi military does. This is what the Emirati military does. This is not what the Houthi Saleh does. They shell indiscriminately. They starve people. They hijack humanitarian assistance. And yet, these charges that are leveled at the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the coalition, when they turn out to be bogus, nobody stands up and says, sorry, we were misinformed. They just go on to the next one. And so we do abide by international humanitarian law, and we are very cognizant of it. And we are determined to minimize civilian damage and collateral damage. And this is what our allies and our friends attest to. Thank you.